Come on, lads. Go up, up, up. Come on, come on, come on. Come on then. Up. Go on, go on, go on, go on, go on, go on. We have got a very busy, I was going to say morning, but week actually, because as you notice, we just ran these cows back in. These are a group of steers from last year, so 10 months old, something like that. Ran them back round because we mucked out that side of the shed yesterday morning. The plan was that we were going to go mucking out this week and we're going to get loads of muck out into the fields because it forecast us to have some cold weather, but it is colder but not cold, so it's no frost. We can't get out on the fields. Luckily, we have the best neighbours in the world. So we've got an arable farming neighbour who's literally next door, where we have our straw, we have our cereal from those guys. They have got a silage pit in their yard, because it used to be a dairy farm 30 odd, 40 years ago, something like that. They've got a silage pit, concrete silage pit, floors, walls, the works, and it's just not used for anything. They just put stuff in there. So they've cleared it out for us. We're gonna go take some muck up to that silage pit, because moving muck for us is a pain in the arse at the minute. We can't really spread it very well in the spring because it's usually a bit wet and we want to get out to grazing. In the autumn, there's no real nitrogen requirement for the grass and it's easy to get it on, but you're kind of wasting it. So it's a real difficult one being all grass. We don't have the arable crops, but they've got the arable crops. So we're going to go and give them some muck. So we've took the heifers out this end. We're going to clear this muck out. We're going to take it in the trailers up to the neighbours and put it in their silage pit. But because obviously tipping in the silage pit is not the most efficient thing in the world, what we have got is a very special little tool. So Dad's going to be this end with the John Deere Telehandler, and I'm going to be up there with, well, something a bit fancy. All the young stock in the yards do need mucking out, so we have got quite a bit of muck for the neighbours, should they want it. Just turn the camera off, I haven't got the feeder on. Every time we go muck carting, we think, we need bigger trailers, or at least one big trailer. We found a really, really nice Stewart's. It's beautiful. It's good money. It's like, everything about it's really nice, but I just think it's a bit flash for carting muck. I feel bad about the idea of putting muck in it. So I'm kind of still on the lookout. I want something, flotation, tyres, ideally both air and oil brakes, hydraulic backboard, 12 ton. I would push to 14, but I think it's perhaps a little bit big for us. Anyway, we're not talking about trailers in this video. We're talking about something even better than trailers. Before we do anything though, we need to fill her up with a bit of jungle juice. It always takes loads longer than you think. I do like the smell though. Like, I'm not into taking drugs or nothing. Like, I've never even smoked a cigarette, right? But I understand why people get into glue sniffing. I'm just gonna say that. It's nice. So you're probably wondering, what is this flash little toy you've got in the yard? Well, I'll show you. This is the Dieci 34.7. They've not given this to me. I've got this on demo. Colin Catley has become the Dieci dealer. So he's what, a mile as the crow flies, something like that. Local dealer, awesome dealer. And he is now the Dieci dealer. And I'm very much the kind of person who, I believe the dealer is more important than the make of the machine. So I like to have a dealer that I can trust. And Colin, you know, is the best dealer. They sort out any problems you've got. And he's took on this Dieci franchise. So having kind of thought we might need to do something about a telehandler, we went to have a look at Lammer. We looked at the Dieci, Manitou, JCB, Weidman, whatever. We also looked at the Merlot. Of all of the ones we looked at, I didn't like any of them other than this one, which I thought was very similar to the John Deere, and the Merlot, which completely took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting that. The Merlot dealer is not mega far away either, so I'm going to probably try both of them and see how we get on. This is on a JCB headstock, so none of our kit fits it, but Colin's bought it with a bucket. There's a pair of pallet tines around the corner, and he's also sourced a grab from a local farmer to help us out so we can use it with a muck, and we're going to take the grab up the road to the other farm so that we can shove up the heap up there. But I think she's quite a tidy little bit of kit, and I got to grips with it yesterday, got a bit of a play with it, so hopefully I can give you a decent review of how she goes. But I need to go and take this bucket off anyway and put the grab on. One thing, big door. It's not a split door, it's a big door. Fancy, look at this. Electric windows. This is hydrostatic as well, so it's not like anything I've ever driven before, which makes it a little bit, you know, I'm a bit tentative with it. It's very different, but I kind of getting used to it, and I do quite like that hydrostatic thing. I know many people have said to me, when you've had a hydrostatic, you'll never go back to a sort of manual type gearbox, and I don't know, I never really believed them. You never do you? But I get it. I understand why people like it. Press that button there, pins in, put that down. Ooh, right, I've got to go and plug the pipes in. I'll give you a proper tour and review as we get going as I'm using it, but I'll tell you one thing that is nice. The window wiper works. The wind wiper don't work on our John Deere one. We've been trying to get it fixed. It's been knackered for about 6 months, but obviously that was in a drought. We didn't need it. Been trying to get it fixed because it's like all seized up, the motor's seized up. We need it so much that we can't really justify it going somewhere to be fixed, and our local mechanic hasn't come to fix it, so we just kind of, we've got a window wiper and it's a squeegee. We've got to just work these pipes out. Colin amended these pipes for us as well. He's a good lad, isn't he? So that we got long enough pipes to be able to use them. Bit different, oh Jesus, bit different to ours. No, I'm doing something wrong here. There is a decompression button here. I think I need to turn the ignition on to do the decompression. It's just there. So, press the button. Still hopeful. Do I just push? Why can't I do it? What's wrong with me? I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's it. Whew. Tell you what, they're a workout, they are. So I'm just going to run this up to next door. I'm going to stick that bale in the trailer and then we'll take it up the road. I'm going to put the bale, well, you'll see when we get there, but they've got a nitrogen fertiliser tank, and I just don't want to get too excited and drive into it, so I'm going to put the bale so we hit the bale first. Not that I'm even intending on hitting the, you know what I mean, safety first, guys. Right, so I'm about to jump on the road, so whilst I run up, I'll just talk you through some of the features of this machine. So, hydrostatic driven, it's got a 100 litre pump, which is smaller than the vast majority of other machines. Most have 150 litre, but generally, to be fair, I find it quite nippy around the yard. When it's cold in the morning, it's a bit slow, but I imagine that'll be the same with any hydro machine because they're all going to have cold oil flow. Visibility is brilliant. I can see really well. The boom is a lot lower than on our John Deere, so you can kind of see over it and you can see all the corners. There's a lot of mirrors over there, which is great, and you can get a camera system which gives a little monitor down at the front, and it puts a camera on the back which you can either use for your hitch, which I'll talk about in a bit, and it puts a camera on the side which does your back blind spot. Otherwise, generally everything is as you would expect. It's a 3.4 ton to 7 metre machine. The joystick is very similar to most other machines. It's got a rocker on the back for your third service. It's got boom in and out. It's got forward and reverse selector on the joystick, which is quite cool. It's the first time I've really driven that, and I find it quite easy to get used to. The weirdest thing about driving a hydro though is like that. I've not used the brakes. You never use the brakes. You just take your foot off and it stops. I find that really peculiar. You're coming up to a junction, for example, and you expect it to coast into the junction and it just stops. That's going to take some getting your head around, but equally, as I said, I think you get used to it, you'll really like it. I genuinely think one of the biggest problems I'm going to have is trying to compare something to that John Deere, because that John Deere is, I think, hands down the best telehandler that was ever built. It was built by Matt Bro, painted in John Deere colours. It is incredible machine. In my head, all I can think is nothing is going to be as good as that, and chances are nothing will be as good as that machine. But the newness is fully wearing off that machine. We've had a few little niggly bits. We had the thermostat go over Christmas. We had to put a new water pump on it. There's just a couple of other bits, like I mentioned, the window wiper and whatever. It's just not as new as what it used to be, if that makes sense. Dad's rocked up with the first load. Here's the silage pit in question. It's a bit of horse muck and that in the back of it, so we're just going to stack it in there and shove it. We've stuck that bale just there because here's the tank and I don't want to back into it, and we've obviously they've dropped that grain pusher off there as well, and protect that because that's the last thing we need backing into.
We went for each other like a bullet from a gun, faster than the sheriff's drawing, hotter than the sun. Didn't see it coming lately, I've been on the run. You know you've seen my face before, so let me tell you something. Darling, you fell in love with the famous man. See my pictures posted everywhere across the land. And if you run with me, you got to understand that you're holding on to a dangerous hand. If I want it, would you still want me? 'Cause babe, I want it. so you know it wasn't free. We'll load this Smith and Wesson up and take our horses east. And if we run into any trouble, we'll leave them in the crimson streets.
So I brought the Dieci back down to the farm because we've done a bit of a swap round now. So took John Deere up there to push the heap up, brought the Dieci down here, gonna give it a go at cleaning some muck out, because, be quite honest, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but it's the hardest job that we have to do, and I think it's probably the hardest job that a telehandler on a farm really ever has to do, is mucking out some cows. So we're going to give it a go and see what it's like in a tighter space, because this machine is slightly longer than the John Deere. It's a little bit confusing because the wheel arches don't move. So the wheels move under the arches, and actually I think the mudguard staying still is a good thing, because you do catch them when you turn, and you might catch them on a wall. So if you just touch the wall with the wheel, you're not going to catch your mudguard. So I do think it's a good thing. It is a little bit unnerving though when you're used to them moving. However, the actual wheelbase is longer on this, despite the machine not really being a huge amount bigger. It's a little bit longer, but it's not a great deal. The wheelbase is longer and it's narrower. So you're just kind of trying to get to grips with how it's going to muck out some yards. One thing I am slightly conscious of and trying to be aware of is the fact that this machine, being hydro, has so much power compared to the John Deere. John Deere, if you want it to push into a heap, you got to rev it. You don't have to rev this thing, it'll just keep pushing. It just takes a bit of getting used to. You get there, but you do have to be a bit delicate with it in comparison to the John Deere anyway. The John Deere, you can almost be not forceful, but there's a bit more room for error. There ain't the room for error with this thing. Okay, let's talk about this thing. What do I think of it? Well, I'm going to start with the negative, then I'll go to the stuff I'm unsure about, and then I'll go to the stuff I really like, because then it just gets better, doesn't it? So the stuff that I'm not massively keen on, one of the reasons why we bought this machine back here to have a go at mucking out the yard wasn't just because, yeah, we did want to try it mucking out a yard and see what it was like, see how nimble it was, but also because when I was up at Morton's next door pushing the muck heap up in that silage pit, I was trying to get it as tall as possible, and I was thinking this machine has got an extra 1 meter reach to what we've got already, and it should in theory lift another 800 kilos. The issue, however, is the fact that with all the safety cutouts, this machine at full mast and full height can only lift 1900 kilos or 1800 kilos. Let me just check the booklist down here. It's 1900 kilos, which still sounds like a lot, but when you've got a muck fork on the front that's perhaps 500 kilos and then you fill it full of muck, and a good grab full of muck's getting on 2 tons, I couldn't stack the heap. And I ended up having to take the John Deere up there to be able to stack the heap higher, despite the fact that it is less powerful and smaller, because all the safety gizmos on this would just cut it out, and I couldn't do anything. And it was driving me bloody bonkers. And what the annoying thing is we want a really compact machine. So we don't want something that is really big or really powerful. I want to be able to get in and out of yards and to have something nimble. But in order to be able to actually compete with our John Deere at pushing the muck up, we'd have to have a bigger machine with a higher capacity in order to match it on its ability to push that muck up. And I found that really annoying, and it's something I'm really struggling with. I don't think I'd be able to look past that, because that is probably some of the hardest work that a telehandler has to do on a farm, but it's work that I need it to do. However, saying that, if you're an arable farmer or a dairy farmer and really all you're using your telehandler for is putting feed in a Keenan or a tub mixer, or you're loading lorries, like, this thing is going to be brilliant. A couple of other things that I dislike about this machine. When it's a bit rainy, as it was the first day I used it, this machine fogs up, because despite the fact that this has probably got one of the best heaters I've ever seen in any kind of agricultural equipment, it is hot in here to the point I'm thinking about taking my hat off. The back windows were fogging up, and it's because all the blowers are kind of situated around the front, which is great because it means I can see really well, but you never really drive into anything, do you? You always back into it. So I want these windows to be clear, and there's no blowers here to do that, and I thought that was a bit of a misstep from these guys. If they put a couple of blowers at the back, it would have made all the difference. Equally, this got a pickup hitch on the back, and when you do a lot of pickup hitch work, we need that pickup hitch to be easy to use and easy to see. And it is very easy to use, to tick that box, but it's absolutely impossible to see it with the little rubbish mirror on the back. And then when you do finally get a trailer hitched up, if you've got a bale trailer, this big pillar here is kind of annoying, because you kind of lose it when you're backing up. You're trying to see it and the pillar gets in the way and you can't see it in your mirrors, and it's not far enough round to see it in the side. Maybe we're a bit luxury, the fact that John Deere's that bit basic and it's just got a thin pillar, but I just found that a bit annoying. But really, all in all, that's the only things that I'm actually dislike about this machine. So on to things that I'm indifferent about. This door, I can't make my mind up whether I like it or not. It's one big single hunk of door. It's bloody massive, and I really like the fact that it only opens, being one big door, that wide, and it's still super easy to get in and out of, so it doesn't restrict you at all. Obviously you can't fold it back, and it has an electric window. I'm trying to work out whether I like the electric window or not, because it's very novel, but I'm sort of thinking it might break. And I do like the idea when it gets a bit warm in there, swinging the window open. However, the reason why I'm unsure about it is because you're not going to break any top doors like you do when you swing them open, and it is really safe. It's got an assisted gas strut on there. The other thing, when you're sat inside and you try to shut it, you have to really pull it, because the cabin on this thing is so well insulated that you get that backdraft that stops the doors shutting. So you do have to give it a good pull. It's not something you can be light with. You have to really give it some. The other thing I'm sort of indifferent on is this sock here. Now, I've sort of tucked it down a little bit, but generally it sits a bit like this up here, and you kind of touch it with your hand, which is whatever, it's not the end of the world, but I do worry that it's gonna get filthy constantly touching it. And I think if there was a bit of a rubber molded sock thing there instead of this leather one, that would probably be better. And just jumping out, the other thing that I think is just a real big misstep is there is LED lights all around this machine, and I've not really used it in the dark, but it seems to have all bases covered. They light everywhere up, including one on the back, which when you put it in reverse comes on, which I love. But these headlights are still on bulbs, and I just think that's a real missed trick. We changed our John Deere ones, because the bulb ones broke, to some UTV LED lights, and they're insane. And I just think if they were LED lights the same as the rest, it would make all the difference. However, jumping back into the cab, let's talk about the things that I do love about it. The heater is incredible. If it gets as cold as what it gets hot, you will freeze in the summer and cook in the winter. The joystick is really easy and handy to use. I love the forward and reverse on there with the hydro. It becomes intuitive really quickly. You've got a neutral button. This blue button, they tell you it does nothing, but it actually does. So this demo machine has a side shifting headstock, and that blue button shifts between third and fourth service. So it takes your rocker button on the back, which does your third service, like you grab up and down, into a side shifting headstock. But it wouldn't do anything on most telehandlers because they don't have that fourth service. Visibility is incredible. On the John Deere, that boom comes up here somewhere, but this is really low, and I can see all the corners. I can see that back corner through this window. I think that's brilliant, and that stack of mirrors is one of my favourite things. As I've mentioned, having kids, it does put the willies up me not being able to see this back corner on a rigid machine. But this stack of mirrors just has everything covered. You can see down this front wheel, you can see down the back, you can see right up the side, you can see everything, and I think it's awesome. And when I was saying earlier about the fact that this mirror on the back is rubbish, one thing that Dieci do offer is they offer a camera system where you can have a camera on the back that can either be a reversing camera looking behind you or a hitch camera, and it also comes with a camera which is mounted where that little light is down there by the wing mirrors, and there's a screen in the front of the machine where you can see both your back blind spot and behind you, and I think that's really good. And it probably, if you were to spec it with that, sorts the problem out we have with this rubbish little mirror here. Now I'm used to it, these sitting there and not moving, I think are great. We've got lights on the back. You can see this back corner really well. We've got a second set of spools, which you can operate by just doing a little switch in the cab. Trailer brakes, it has the fancy new trailer brakes where you have a flow and a return. The hitch, I love being an up and down hitch. We've got a cantilever hitch on the John Deere, and you do get wear underneath. As I mentioned, LED lights, that folds down. So if you're on a very low roof, you can just fold that down, but it is significantly lower than the John Deere, which I think is really useful. Very, very narrow. So if we look at it from the back, it's I think just over 2 meters wide, which is a lot narrower than the John Deere. And what happens when I come in to attack a shed like this, I can attack on such an aggressive angle, which I can't in the John Deere, which actually makes cleaning a shed out a lot easier. Back in the cab, we have a lot of space. It's really easy to climb in and out of, which I think is great, and it's not claustrophobic. And one of my favorite things, there are 2 cup holders, one either side of the back, so you can have a coffee and a beer depending on how you're feeling. You can swig out of each. Grandma air seat, so you can pump that up. It takes a bit of the bounce out, because obviously we've got no cab suspension on this machine, which is one of the reasons why it is very low. And that single step, really grippy, dead easy to get into. So I'm sure you're all absolutely dying to know what the figures are. Well, this machine, all in, brand new, 3.5 ton to 7 meters, is £75,000 plus VAT, which when you consider that someone I spoke to the other day said that they'd been quoted for a Kramer, which is, it was a bigger machine than this, but not too dissimilar, and that was well over £100,000, I think that is a fair price for this machine. It's been an absolute dream cleaning that shed out. I've loved cleaning this shed out with it. Super maneuverable, very narrow, easy to get in and out of, very powerful, easy to control. However, the one thing I personally can't overlook is the fact that I couldn't stack that muck. But if you were using it around the yard, filling up feeders, scraping cows out, carting bales, loading grain lorries, that thing is way more than capable of doing all of that stuff.